Hey you guys, my name is Maregaal and welcome to my channel. Today's topic or subject is slavery in the Bible. Okay? One of the main reasons I am bringing this up because of a certain YouTube channel that I've been watching. I watch several of them, to build in my knowledge as well, to feed off of others just to see if they, could teach me at the same time. Okay? So, anyway, looking at this one channel called the Deconstruction Zone, a guy named Justin runs it, and he is a very smart man. He's around 40 years old. He got his degree in divinity at college or university, and he knows Hebrew pretty good, okay? Well, he's an atheist now. He was a devout Christian and he was a preacher, for a good while. Anyhow, he got out of it because he just started examining the scripture and he got out of his Christianity, okay? But he still has a vast array of knowledge of the Old Testament because that's what his studies were in college, okay? He had a kind of a love for the old, quote-unquote, Old Testament, what we Jewish people call the Tanakh. Well, over and over and over and over and over and over again, he will talk about slavery in the Bible, okay? And of course, he has a motive, is God just? Why would God institute slavery if he's just, okay? Regardless of that. And a lot of Christians will call in and they will get cooked because they literally call in and they don't even know the text they are defending. They literally don't. Okay? It baffles me because on my own channel, on this one right here that you're watching, they will comment to my shorts, because I make, clickbait type of shorts on purpose because I'm being very truthful what the scripture says, but because I know full well that they don't know the scripture, they get irritated and their feathers all ruffled up. And so there's a point because I am making someone think and turn to the scriptures to prove me wrong or to, and the idea is, in order to prove me wrong, you're going to have to look into the scripture yourself and do some study. Because what I'm saying is actually the scripture. It's actually what they had not been taught. Okay? So when it comes to Justin, talking about slavery, he can read the verses there regarding slavery. But then it's a mental warping or something. He botches it big time. And he would be so much in trouble if we were to live in ancient Israel where it was a theocracy, he would be in big time trouble by the other judges. If he were a judge per se, let's pretend he was a judge, he would be in trouble by the judges higher than him. And he would definitely be in trouble by Jeremiah later on. Okay? Now, for those of you that do not know the scriptures, okay? I'm not going to get into one particular one. I just came up with a thought. But there are two types of slaves. Okay? One for the Hebraic person, the Hebrew, the Jewish person. And one for the foreigner. There's two differing laws. Now, if you don't know this, but if you study over and over and over and over and over again, like Jewish people read the Torah, that is the first 5 books of Moses, in the synagogue, every Shabbat or Sabbath, they read the whole Torah. They divide the 5 books by 52 weekends. I'm just boiling it down to that. So every Sabbath they read a portion, called the Torah portion, every Sabbath. Okay, so they read the whole Torah within 1 year. The whole thing. No skipping around or anything like that. Okay, like you see in a Christian church. They're mostly involved in teaching a message for the week, like it's a big pep rally. Okay, so they'll go here and go there and go there and go here and go there, and they make a whole big message. Literally within 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, they have their service for an hour, and they read about not very much more than 10 verses altogether. This is it. Nothing more. Okay, and it's baffling. Where if you were to take the same time and just start reading, like say the book of Matthew, 28 chapters, it takes you 2.5 hours, roughly. Okay? More or less for some people. Okay? So seriously, you can get the full throttle message in 2.5 hours versus just never getting the message of what the gospel actually says. So moving back. So a lot of Christians are not learned at all about the Jewish scriptures. They hear certain things and they formulate their own ideas, which can be kind of true, but mostly they're wrong. Okay? So there are two types of, I don't know if that'd be the proper word. There's kind of different rules for different people in the Jewish law, the law of Moses that God himself supposedly gave Moses on Mount Sinai. Okay, now many people, I have to fix this problem, so I might as well just talk about it. The 10 Commandments are not the only commandments God gave Moses. Okay? The story is, I have to say this because now I brought it up and someone's going to question it. Or write in the comments, oh, his law is only the 10 Commandments. No, that's malarkey. Don't believe that person who teaches that. They are obviously not read anything in the Old Testament. Nothing. What happened was the people came out of Egypt. They went to the Sinai desert. And all of a sudden, while at the base of the mountain, they're there. The Lord descended on the mountain where there's lightning and smoke and fire and earthquakes. And all of a sudden, the Lord speaks audibly to everyone at once. And so he started speaking the 10 sayings. We don't say the 10 Commandments. Okay, because the first thing that was said is, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. It's not a commandment. That's a statement. So it's basically 9 commandments within 10 statements. Okay. What the Christians will do, just have to add it in there, because I'm going to get it in the comments. Christians will divide commandment number 2 and add it with statement with number 1. So it kind of reads, I'm paraphrasing, so it kind of goes like this. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. You shall have no other gods alongside of me. Or no other gods but me. Okay? Then no idols is the second one. No, and that's not how it goes. Okay, so anyway, back to what I was saying. So all the commandments, so God, as he was speaking, he uttered the 10 sayings. Okay, and by the end of or in the middle of it, the people were like so terrified to hear God's voice. And seeing the lightning and hearing the thunder and the earthquakes, they're terrified. So by the time of the 10th saying, they came up to Moses and said, you go up by yourself and get the directions and laws and statutes and commandments of God. We don't want to hear God lest we die. I mean, it's terrifying. Look at what we're experiencing. We never experienced this ever. So the Lord, knowing this, he stopped talking audibly. Okay? So that was the 10 sayings he spoke audibly to everyone. And Moses went up and got the rest of the commandments. He was going to speak audibly to everyone. Okay? And so the legend is he spoke approximately around 613 commandments. That's just a rough guess. Okay? What rabbis have accumulated, put together. I count more. Okay? But anyway, let's just go with it. So he spoke 613 commandments for all the people to obey. 10 of those 613 he spoke audibly. So the 2 tablets are the 10 sayings he spoke out loud to everybody. Okay, that's it. That's the story. So, with that being said now, part of this law involves slavery. There are laws for the Hebrew person, that is the Israelite, and then there's different laws for the foreigner. Okay? Now, if you read over and over and over and over and over again the Torah, you'll see, you're like, whoa, this is kind of pro-Israel here. Kind of a racist book. Yeah, it's not a negative racist. It's a nationalistic, pro-racist. Okay? It's for Israel, for that culture. Okay? It's not for a foreigner's culture. It's not for this person's culture. It's for that culture. The Jewish/Israelite culture coming out of Egypt. So when they go into the promised land, of course they had to obey it there too. But when they go into the promised land, that's where all of them are enacted. Okay? Because, many of them are done right there in the desert, outside of the land, but all of them are done in the land. Okay? So, moving on to these commandments regarding slaves. If you are a Jewish person, Israeli, Hebrew, whatever you want to say, that person, this is where Justin fouls up. He fouls up royally, and I don't see how he fouls up. His reading comprehension is, he goes like this, he goes down, then he goes back up, and views something by what's said above when it has nothing to do with what's going down in here. So let me explain. So it's point blank. You have to understand. Point blank here. Point blank. Understand? Point blank. The Hebrew servant/slave serves you for 6 years. Period. And then that servant or slave goes free at the end of the 6th year. This is where Justin fouls up. Whether you're male or female, that Hebrew slave must be set free. This is where Justin messes up. The scripture says the male, however, goes out free without anything. You just set him free, let him go. Okay? The female is set free. She's set free, period. She's set free. This is where Justin messes up. She's set free. Remember what I just said earlier. The male and female are set free, period. The female, however, is set free only by 4 ways, if I remember right. 3 is right here in front of me. Okay? And it's set free in 4 particular ways. Okay? The first way is, I'm going to get into oral law that's invented right here. So you can see it and understand it. It's not reading between the lines. Got to remember, this is a genuine culture. It's not theory. It's not debate. There's nothing to debate over. It's like the Constitution of the United States. Here is the law. It is the law of our nation. Period. Okay? There's no debate. There's no theory. Doesn't matter if Iran or people of Israel, people of Great Britain have their opinion about it. Or 1,000 years later have a theory about it. It is our law right now. Okay? Well, back then, this was their law then. And it was a theocracy. It wasn't a democracy. There was no debates. And it was a religious law. A theocracy. Based on a belief. Okay? It was actual law code. Okay? So, the Hebrew male or female is set free after the 6th year. Again, the male is set free. Just let him go. Okay? That's the rules for him. The rules for the women are different. This is where Justin messes up. He says, you shall not let them go as the men servants do. He just views that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, because he's reading up above what it says above, and I'll get on that in a second. he interprets it as is. You shall not let them go out as the men servants do. So he interprets that as not letting them go ever free. Ever. That's not what it's saying. Let's put the emphasis in a different way. The exact same words. It says, you shall not let the female slaves go free as the men servants go out. Okay? So then it continues on to tell you how you set them free. They are free. They're not slaves. They're not concubines. None of that. Okay? They are set free. But this is the law, how they are to be set free. Okay? And there's has to be commentary in between the lines. Okay? It goes like this. The idea is, and this is the proof of what I'm about to say. I'll read it in a minute. I'll re-comment the same words, maybe in a different way, but anyway. It says, if the master does not find pleasure in this woman after 6 years of service, you must let her family redeem her back. Okay? Now, why is that? Why is that? Because now this is part of the lost culture of ours. We don't have it. Okay, it's lost. Okay, I gotta say this, just put it in the mix. If you go to Nehemiah chapter 8 and chapter 9, you will see that this law that they read in a single hearing on a single day, on the first day of the 7th month, is not the thing we have today. Genesis through Deuteronomy. It's not it. Apparently that was the blunt laws. Bloop, 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 all of them. Doesn't have any commentary, no wanderings in the wilderness, not Abraham, not, the story about the guy picking up sticks on the, the Sabbath day and they stoned him, not Balaam, none of that. Just the laws. And if you go to Nehemiah 9, they are doing a type of Yom Kippur, a day of fasting, where they're afflicting themselves. Not eating. Well, according to the Torah, according to legend, Moses wrote, which is very clear he didn't write it because what I'm about to tell you. They are doing this on the 25th day. If I'm not mistaken, it's 24th or 25th day of the 7th month. Where if you go to the law, Leviticus 16, like Leviticus 23 and Numbers 29, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, is on the, God, it's been a while. Anyway, it's like in the 7th month, on the 10th day. I had a brain freeze, okay? On the 10th day. Yet in Nehemiah, they are doing something on the 25th day. Now, I could be wrong. It could be the 24th. I don't have the book in front of me, but I think it's the 25th. But don't quote me on that. It's 24th or 25th, okay? So anyway, they're fasting on this day. And when you read Nehemiah 8 and 9, there's not even a hint of obeying Yom Kippur. They're more concerned with the Feast of Tabernacles, which starts on the 15th. It goes to the 21st, and they have another day on the 22nd. Okay, it's like an 8-day deal altogether. They are more concerned with that, building the booths and things like that. There's not even a hint, not an inkling of Yom Kippur. They're not even worried about it. So when you see that, when this is all done, then they start fasting on their own. Okay, putting on sackcloth and things like that. So it tells you the Torah we have today did not exist yet at Nehemiah chapter 9. Did not exist yet. So that's why it makes more sense of all the things you see in the Torah, all the problems. Like Genesis chapter 36, verse 31, I believe, where it talks about the kings of Israel. In this chapter and verse, there were no kings of Israel. So it tells you the author was after the kings of Israel began. So it couldn't have been by Moses, you understand? And there's many other things in the Torah that tells you came way later, not in a Moses time frame. So anyway, back to what I was saying, the women are set free in this way, not in the way of the men. That's where Justin gets it way wrong. He's way out of line. Okay? It says, they shall not be set free as the men, as the way the men are set free. This is how you set them free. Okay? If the master is not pleased with her, the family must redeem her. The purpose of a man taking on a Hebrew woman was to marry her. Therefore, that is why it says, if she does not please him, she shall be redeemed by her family. Okay? So again, if she does not please her master, who is basically gave the bride price, the dowry basically, or became betrothed to her, but maybe she was too young, because I have to add this in there. The age to get married was, now we don't have the law code, like I said. We don't have the law from biblical times. It came later. So you got to remember, the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel had their own law code. Okay? We don't have those law codes. Like later in, they found the code of Hammurabi. Just goes in pecking order. All these laws, nothing but laws. Blip, 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 all of them. And they're pretty categorized, pretty good. Okay? We don't have that. We have the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible. They're with stories and this and that and this. So we don't have the blunt law code. So we don't know the hardcore culture of that time. It's literally lost. Literally. Okay? Everything changed at the time of the Babylonian exile. The temple was destroyed. Any scrolls that exist, only maybe a few were saved, like Isaiah, Micah, and the people that existed before the temple. Okay? Only a handful. Okay? So anyway, the woman can get married. She's considered a woman when she menstruates. She's able to have kids. Okay? So you could, so let's just pretend, it's like around 13. Okay? Let's just make her 15. You take 6 years before that. She could work at 9 years old. Or 10 years, start working at, let's make her 16, okay? Just make it just 16. Just to give you an example. At 10 years old, you could pay for her to be a future wife. But she serves you for the 6 years. Okay? Now, a lot of people may not agree with this, but hey, it's in the book. Don't say nothing. It's just in the book. It's there. Okay? So she says she starts serving you at age 10. Okay? Then at the end of the 6 years, she's now 16. But during this time, the guy who paid the bride price, and maybe this is the lost culture. You don't know if there's a bride price and a slavery price. Don't know that. So anyway, we don't have that. It's just not there. So it's kind of a sad deal. Our culture is lost. But nonetheless, during this time, if he finds that she's like way out of line, she's uncouth from this or that, or getting nowhere these 6 years, he goes, nah, I don't want her. She's full of drama, or whatever the case is. She's not fully developed, or she's just inadequate for me. I don't like her personality or whatever. So he is displeased with her, and so she is set free by her family redeeming her. That's how she's set free. She's set free. Okay? The other way, going down the list of how she's set free, is that she marries her off to his son. Okay? Which is allowed. You paid the bride price to have her to be a servant for you for 6 years, and at the end of the 6 years, you marry her off to be the wife of your son, as a genuine wife, not a concubine. What is a concubine? We have to talk about it. Okay? Hagar was a concubine. Okay? But before she became one, what is she? She is the slave of Sarah. Okay? A lot of times when you go out, like in biblical days, if the dad had money, and you love your daughter or whatever, and you want to give her basically property, you give your daughter one of your female slaves. Okay? Why? Why is that? Because it has a potential of bringing the future wife money. So the whole point is this. Let's say everything just went well. I'll give you examples. So here's Sarah and Abraham, and there's Hagar. Okay? Now, Sarah could have done this a lot earlier without having issues about it. She said, hey, why don't you raise up a son for me? And so Abraham, by the contract of Sarah, sleeps with Hagar. Okay? And Ishmael is conceived and born. Ishmael belongs to Sarah. Ishmael and Hagar are the slaves of Sarah. That's her property, her value. So now Ishmael can work for Sarah and Hagar for that matter. And so there's value in that. So you see what I'm saying? So the man, going back to the commandments, the man, he marries her, and then the second point, back to what I was saying, the second way to make her free is to marry her off to your son. That's how she gets set free. She becomes a genuine wife. Okay? Now it says, if he marries another, the master, like say he does marry her at the end of 6 years. Okay? This is the third point, how she's set free. Okay? If during this time, he does marry her. Okay, it's kind of clear by the context. If he marries another wife, so you have her who was an ex-slave, servant, 6-year servant, but you take on another woman, whether during the time she's a slave or even after that. Okay? If he marries another woman, but then starts to neglect her in 3 particular ways, she is allowed to go free. Okay? So what are the 3 things? If he does not provide food, clothing, and marital rights, meaning he has to make out with her, have sex with her, try to build a family with her. If he ignores her, according to the law, she can leave. She's free to go. Okay? Isaiah 4 talks about the exact same thing. This is because of a war. Okay, and this happened quite a bit. After a war, the men are quite killed, and there's all these abundance of women. Okay, and they have their needs, and they want their own family. So one man would marry quite a bit of women. And after the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, it is said that the high priest married 800 women. Okay? Just to keep the population alive. Thank God for that. So according to Isaiah 4, it says 7 women. Excuse me. All right. In Isaiah, it says 7 women will lay hold of one man. And they'll say, don't worry about our clothes and don't worry about our food. Just give us children. Okay? So that right there confirms what Exodus 21 says. So this is a polygamous society as well. Okay? Very polygamous. You can have more than one wife. The only problem is you can't just randomly marry women. You have to support them. You have to give them their food, their clothing, and also marital rights. Make out with them and have children. Okay? If the man does not provide these three things, she is to be set free. Okay? So you can't even have a second wife if you, by law, if you can't afford it. If there's no proof you can't afford it, you cannot have a second wife. According to the law, you can't just randomly, people think you just randomly, say to a girl, we're married. Can't do that. It has to be acknowledged. It has to be very much so acknowledged, because it is a capital offense if you sleep with someone else's wife. Whether the man has 20 or 700 like Solomon. If anybody slept with Solomon's wives, any one of the 700, that was a death penalty, capital offense. Okay? So that is how the woman is set free. What Justin will do is he goes up and misreads and misinterprets. Okay? It goes like this regarding the male. If the master gives the Hebrew slave a female slave to marry, and the woman produces a child, that's okay. This is the problem, though, not having vividly clear wording. Okay, this is what's so sad about like our lost culture. But it's pretty clear in the context. There is someone who called Jason's show, and the caller was correct, while Jason was just kind of slamming, no. Actually, Jason was wrong. He was very wrong. And the caller was correct. So what goes on is, if a master gives the Hebrew slave a wife, and that wife produces kids, and then it says the wife and the children belong to the master, because that's originally how it was. So you're raising children for the master, more property. Okay? Now Jason, what he'll do is he'll read the first sentence down below, then he applies it to the up, thinking it's the Jewish woman. Because it says, the Hebrew woman shall not be set free as the men servants do. Shall not be set free as the men servants do. So he assumes they're not set free at all. Then he erroneously goes up and reads the other thing where the wife and the kids belong to the master. He's just wrongfully putting two together. No. What that is talking about is the foreign women he's giving to the Hebrew man. It's very vividly clear. Okay? Because the woman must be set free after the 6th year. Okay? Period. And by the context, a man cannot take a Hebrew female slave unless you're going to marry her. That's the whole intent. The intent is you marry them. When a man sells his daughter, the intent is to marry her, not to have a slave outright. The intent is to marry her. But that's why it says, but if he finds ill in her or displeases him, you have to let her be redeemed back to the family. The family takes her back. That's it. But the intent was to marry her. You got it? So the thing is, when you go back to the Hebrew slave, again, I'm going to reiterate. If his master gives him a wife, and the wife produces kids, the wife and the kids belong to the master. That's building up his property, because it's a foreign wife. Okay? But after the 6 years, if the guy goes, oh, I love my wife. Okay? But I love my wife. So they pierce his ear, with all, and he becomes a slave forever. Forever. because of that wife there. He makes a vow, does all the business to become a permanent slave. There's no jubilee deal right there. Okay, it's a permanent slave, and he's happy to build up property for the master. Not a problem with that, okay? Let's go back now. This is more commentary that has to be understood. The man, when the man sells his daughter to be a slave to the master, his intention has to be to marry her. Okay, period. So you can't give her, you cannot give her to a fellow Hebrew to be with her. You can't do that. That's not the law. The law is you shall marry her or the son. Okay? If you don't find, and if he doesn't find pleasure in her, she gets redeemed, or if he doesn't fulfill his duties as a husband, she's set free. Okay? So the intent is when you buy the female from the Hebraic father, you are not allowed to give her to some Hebrew slave. It's not the law. It's very clear. That's what Justin is not grasping. Okay? Now let me read it to you. Just to be very clear. I got it right here. I did in King James so people could follow along. It's easy. It's most popular, I think. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's Exodus 21 verses 2 through 11. Okay? If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. That's it. End of story. Get out of here. You're done. Okay? If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. Here it is. This is a female foreign slave, not a Jewish girl. If his master hath given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. Okay? If if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges, and he shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. And if the man, okay, now here's about the Hebrew woman, okay? And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. Like I said, Justin just stops it right there. Okay? But it goes on, and this is how you set her free. On these conditions, only these conditions. If she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, because that's the whole point. Like I said, you can't. If you betroth her, the moment you buy her from the father, you can't give her to the Hebrew slave. You can't do it because you betrothed her to yourself or to your son. That's it. Period. End of story. Jason's wrong. Doesn't know what he's talking about. If she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power, seeing he hath dealt deceitfully with her. Okay? Like I said, you cannot buy that Hebrew female as a slave if you don't intend to marry her. The whole intention was to marry her yourself or marry her off to your son. Okay? Let me go on because we'll talk about the son. And if he hath betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. She is set free. So there's the two things, okay? If he take him another wife, besides this slave. Her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. And if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. So there you go. That is how you set the woman free under those conditions. Okay? She is bought to be a bride. That's it, period. At the end of the 6th year, if he doesn't get turned on by her, he could either have her redeemed or ask his son, hey, do you like her? I don't. Would you like to, she's not touched. Would you like to have her for a wife? If he says no, or if he marries her, if he says no, she must be redeemed by the family. That's how she's set free. Or she's set free by becoming a pure wife, not a concubine. Okay? Now there is, which we discussed, the 3 things are not kept: food, clothing, and sexual relations, not providing children. She's allowed to be set free. So Jason is wrong, extremely, very, very wrong. Okay, even in Jeremiah griped at the people. He said the female and male Hebrew slaves are to be set free. Okay? So there's my beef. Now this is not supposed to be a hardcore rebuke against Justin. I like Justin. I like his program. I like his channel. But he's simply just wrong, and hopefully he'll look at this video and take it into consideration. And the people that watch his channel don't know these things. A lot of them don't, because they don't study. I study. This is my culture. I lived this way. I was an Orthodox Jew for a long time. Okay? So thank you for watching. Appreciate you. Hit the like and subscribe button. I might put on here at the very end, now that I'm talking about it, the quotations to prove what Justin is saying. So I'm going to do a screenshot of myself, like right here, and just put that pause and zoom it in just a little bit so you can see him talk about it. Okay? Where he messes up. All right. Thank you for watching. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you very much.
What about Exodus?
So back to your verse, correct?
Which one?
It's the previous one you gave me, correct?
Leviticus
Yes
25.
No? Yes.
All right, what about it?
He's telling the Israelites that they have the right to own a slave up to 6 years and freedom the 7th year. Yes or no?
Citation needed. You're lying.
Go back to the verse then. Go back to the verse.
I got it right here. You're not going to like it.
Go to Exodus 21. Sorry.
I told you you're confusing Exodus 21 and Leviticus 25. Already got it. Fantastic.
Go. Exodus 21.
This is going to cook you.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, you're not going to like this at all. It says, when you buy a male Hebrew slave, he shall go out. He shall serve you 6 years, but in the 7th year he shall go out a free person without debt. Now, what if you're a woman, though? Have you read verse 7? When a man sells his daughter as a slave, yeah, she doesn't get to go out. And what happens if somebody is given a wife while they're in their 6 years of service? If a master gives them a wife and she bears some sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out alone because they are permanent slaves.
Okay, now go to the verses 10. Read verse 10.
Sure.
In the same...
If he takes another wife to himself, so now we've got polygamy. If he takes another wife to himself, he shall not diminish the food, clothing, or marital rights of the first wife. Yeah, if he takes a wife, because you're allowed to take multiple wives.
I'm about to refute that again. It says if he takes another wife. So if he takes another wife, he shall not diminish food, clothing.
Yeah.
And right.
Of who?
Which is implying that of the woman that was sold.
No.
Which means the woman.
Wrong.
Yes, that's what it says.
Wrong.
How's it wrong?
That you're not to diminish the woman's sustenance while she is a concubine.
So you see, folks, how Justin messes up the scripture by mixing the verses. Okay? When the master gives the Hebrew male slave a wife, that is a foreign slave. That is why that woman belongs to, and her children belong to the master. Okay? Then when it goes on, now talking about the Hebrew's female slave, she is set free. She is set free either because he doesn't want to marry her, because he's finding something displeasing. Okay, she's set free that way, so the family redeems her. She gets married to the master, that's the second way, or she gets married to the master's son, that's the third way. The fourth way is if the son or the master does not provide the three things: food, clothing, and the sexual stuff of marriage, then she's set free. Okay? So therefore, she is not to be set free like the men servants do. So Justin is wrong, and the caller was correct, but he got confused in all of Justin's pushing and pushing and pushing. Justin was actually wrong. He was forceful. And the guy was actually very correct. Okay? He was confused at the beginning, mixing like Leviticus 25 and and Exodus 21 verse 2 through 11. But he had it right. The Hebrew male and female are both set free after 6 years of service. Like I showed you in Jeremiah even says that the females are to be set free. Okay? So Justin apparently didn't see that either. There you go.